Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of Fintech Ki Baat Dil Se. This is your host Shreyas, and today we have with us Mr. Abhishek Gandhi. Hey Abhishek, thank you so much for joining us today. Abhishek is the founder of a startup called FatakPay. FatakPay एक ऐसी कंपनी है जो कि लो इनकम सेगमेंट को फाइनेंशियल वेलनेस की तरफ पुश करती है वाया मल्टीपल प्रोडक्ट्स इंक्लूडिंग सेविंग्स, लोन्स एंड अदर फाइनेंशियल प्लानिंग के लिए गाइड करते हैं ताकि जो लो इनकम सेगमेंट है, ब्लू कॉलर वर्कर्स है, उनको एक बेहतर फाइनेंशियल डिसीजन ले पाए और एक बेहतर जिंदगी जी सके. ओवर टू यू अभिषेक. थैंक यू सो मच फॉर जॉइनिंग अस. बहुत ही मजा आएगा आपके साथ बात करने के लिए. क्विक ओवरव्यू ऑफ व्हाट your background, a bit of your background. Over to you.
Thank you, Shreyas. Thank you for having me, and delighted to
Pleasure.
be part of this. Shreyas, let me walk you through my background. I come from an engineering background. Worked with Infosys for a couple of years.
Okay.
Did my MBA Finance from Rotterdam School of Management. So was based out of the Netherlands for about 7-8 years. Also did my CFA while working there. Worked with a large multinational, looking at their looking at investments, business planning, and risk management for them. Moved back to India some years ago. Started a string of ventures. Majorly in the fintech space. Been in the fintech space for about 4-5 years now. Last venture also, by the name of Rupee Circle, where we were trying to build a peer-to-peer lending platform, and now FatakPay.
Awesome, बढ़िया. काफी इंटरेस्टिंग जर्नी रही है आपकी. आपने शुरू के इंजीनियरिंग से फिर एमबीए करे एंड देन यू went to Netherlands and basically वहां से you worked there for almost 6-7 years और फिर इंडिया आए. So if I may ask, इंजीनियरिंग के बाद एमबीए तो ऑलमोस्ट आजकल ट्रेंड बन चुका है. So I'm not gonna ask you why, but नेदरलैंड्स में आप थे इतनी, I mean I'm pretty sure काफी settled था. You were working with TCS also at one point of time. So why did you move back to India? मतलब what was the motive there?
Right. So, couple of things. Obviously, Netherlands is a fantastic place to be. It's one of those countries in Europe where English is widely spoken. So, वहाँ पे मतलब communication was not an issue. Great people, great country. Loved my time there. But there was sense of India calling. So I thought I sensed a lot more opportunities here. मुझे लगा कि there is a lot to be done in India. India is still kind of a potential where you have tremendous consumer base, but also a lot of fantastic things happening here. So that combined with homesickness, etc. That kind of brought me here. So I realized कि India में बहुत potential है, बहुत कुछ कर सकते हैं. Already I was itched by the entrepreneurial bug, and I thought there's nothing like India where to start putting your ideas in practice.
बिल्कुल. So yeah, I mean you had a great corporate career in Netherlands. So आपने आके इधर I think Rupee Circle is one of the more famous startups that you started, right? So why did you get into entrepreneurship? एक वो thought process में थोड़ा सा insight देंगे?
Right. So multiple things. Obviously, I had a very well paid job, well settled in Netherlands, etc. But I thought there's always something more challenging to be done. The space India as a market excited me a lot. I thought there was always something in me which did not conform to the normal thing. मेरे को हमेशा से
आग के अंदर कुछ करने की.
Exactly. तो मुझे लग रहा था कि यार I should start something on my own. I did not want to follow the same 9 to 5 thing. And there were so many things that I thought can be done in India. So that was something that was the main driving force. Do something, add value. Bring a lot more change, revolutionize the space that I'm working in. So that was kind of the primary drivers.
Got it. So आप इंडिया में आए and you had decided कि यार कुछ तो खुद से करना है. अभी बहुत 9 to 5 हो गया. So you had that junoon, that arc inside you. But peer-to-peer lending जो आपने जैसे शुरू किया, right? That was one of the main segments. So वो चीज क्यों पकड़ी आपने? What did you see? वो identify कैसे, opportunity कैसे identify करी कि यार this is what I want to do?
So I had a great background in finance. So I did my MBA in finance, did my CFA in finance, was working in the risk management financial industry. When I came back, I saw a lot of people struggling for access to credit, and essentially low income segment did not get access to credit. They were paying ridiculous interest rates for small ticket loans. And I've spotted a lot of potential. Obviously, banks, NBFCs, etc. Did not find this segment lucrative primarily because of low ticket size. So customer acquisition cost obviously बढ़ जाता है. There is
बिल्कुल.
a very high acquisition rate. Collection cost बहुत बढ़ जाता है. So essentially they were not catering to this segment, and this segment only relied on unorganized lending. So when I started Rupee Circle, one of the primary force or the driver was to drive financial inclusion. So try and bring these credit invisibles to formal stream of credit. So I started this journey alongside Ajit, who also was my co-founder in Rupee Circle. So he's also great friend, IIT Bombay,
Okay. Hmm.
BTech and Tech. And he had also been in banking and finance industry. So he was with Citi and Axis Bank looking at credit cards and personal loans for them. So the two of us, we started brainstorming on how to provide access to credit. So we created our own algorithm to underwrite these customers, and essentially see how we could build a credit score for these individuals. And the major, what really excited us about Rupee Circle was also the fact that we were trying to build debt as a retail asset class. So debt as an asset class was completely missing. Apart from
True.
lending to friends and family, you don't retail investors don't really have access to debt kind of a product. Mostly अब देखोगे जनता 95-97% they go for fixed deposits which give you 4-5-6% kind of interest rates, और नहीं तो bonds etc. ये मतलब this is more for financially savvy investors. So major जनता के पास debt as an asset class का access नहीं था. So we realized कि if we connected people who wanted money with people who had money to invest, then we could maximize returns for these individuals and also provide access to credit. So in that sense, Rupee Circle was a P2P lending platform where we were connecting people and people who were needy and with people who had money to invest.
Got it. So P2P के बारे में जब बात करते हैं, you spoke about something called debt as an asset class for the retail investor, right? Slightly what do you say, more affluent investors would want to invest in these kind of an asset. तो ये debt, why is it necessary to have this kind of an investment class? या इस investment class की क्या खासियत है जो दूसरा कोई investment instrument नहीं दे पाता है?
Correct. So debt, and that is again where we wanted to democratize this. So as you rightly mentioned, debt, जो bonds है, इस तरह का जो investment assets है, that is more for financially savvy investors. और typically people बाकी जनता के लिए fixed deposits are the kind of go-to asset class. So that is kind of the no-brainer. So debt का अच्छा चीज ये है ना कि it is slightly less risky than equity. So any kind of stock investment, mutual fund, etc. Provides more of a fixed income kind of an asset class. So उसमें थोड़ा सा certainty of returns is better. But obviously, in terms of return expectation, that is slightly lower than again equity and other asset classes. So we wanted to give that kind of access or availability to retail investors. यहाँ पे हम क्या करते थे, in Rupee Circle, the good thing we did was also diversify and also make it accessible. So you could invest as low as 50,000 rupees, or in fact lower. So हमारे पास हमने 5,000 रुपए तक का ticket size कर दिया था for each debt investment. And as a debt investor, if you were investing to 1 to 2 lakh rupees, we would spread that across 20 to 50 individuals. So as a portfolio level diversification we build कर रहे थे हम लोग, depending on your preferences, depending on what you needed. So even in the worst case scenario, if you've given loans to 40-50 odd individuals and 2-3 individuals are unable to repay for whatever reason, you would still make a handsome return on your investment.
बिल्कुल. Understood. नहीं, काफी interesting है, and I think if I speak personally, जो मेरा अगर आप investment portfolio देखोगे तो I think 30% I'm exposed to P2P lending as of now.
Super.
Because इसका जो return मिलता है, that's around 8 to 10% without a lock-in, right? In some cases. Correct. So that actually is a lot more safer, not safer, but a lot more productive,
lucrative as well.
Lucrative, right? थोड़ा सा riskiness ज़्यादा रहता है, but that's the appetite, and you should know कि कैसे diversify करना है. So I think that's a great instrument. Taking a step back here, अगर आप Rupee Circle की बात करोगे, आपने पूरा scratch से शुरू करा था, and this was probably at a time जहाँ पे कि P2P guidelines were not there in India, right? As a business. when you
Mhm.
started Rupee Circle, uski I think 2016 is when you started.
Absolutely,
2016,
yeah,
yes.
correct.
So 2016 में Rupee Circle के वो टाइम पे कोई P2P गाइडलाइंस नहीं थे. RBI के गाइडलाइंस आई थिंक 2019 में सॉलिडिफाई हुए. तो एक एज अ फाउंडर ऑफ अ कंपनी जो कि वो टाइम पे रेगुलेटेड नहीं थी, एंड व्हेन रेगुलेशंस केम इन, हाउ डिड यू सी कि हाउ डिड दोस रेगुलेशंस अफेक्ट यू एज अ एंटरप्रेन्योर एंड an organization, and what kind of challenges did you come across from a regulatory perspective?
So, obviously, when you're starting out new, and I left job, came to India. So, working in a corporate and especially abroad and coming to India and starting your own venture is a, also a shock in itself. So obviously, you are used to more corporate processes. अब यहाँ पे India में company start करना है, the way of working is entirely different. One of the major challenges, and I'll come to the regulatory challenges in a bit, but even before that, obviously building a good team, right? So, that is one of the key challenges as an entrepreneur, because you want to have, good set of co-founders who have similar mindset, who have similar vision. So, to have and to form the core team. So I was fortunate enough to have, the right set of co-founders available, within my friend circle. And we went through multiple brainstorming processes, nights, days and nights spent on the drawing board, ensuring what we exactly wanted to get and achieve, and building a good team, around this. Secondly, obviously, we realized there was a white paper that was coming out. So we when we started checking on P2P lending and what is the current status, obviously, there was nothing formal yet. Right. But there were, certain white papers in the works. So obviously, for us, being aligned with the regulation was very important. So hum log, already we started preempting in the sense ki kya ho sakta hai, what would be the spirit of regulations if and when they come, right? So even right from day one, our agenda was very clear that we should have a very clean, platform where it is conforming to most of the best practices that are available in the industry. Right. And good thing for us is, 6 to 8 months after we launched, or after we started developing and building on this idea, regulations actually came in. And RBI actually, required anybody who was operating in this space to apply for an NBFC P2P license, right? So there was a special category NBFC that was created for it, and we had to apply for this. So which was actually very good, because when we were studying P2P, and obviously there was a lot of research that we did before entering into the space, we realized there were great examples of people or companies that did fairly well in the US and the European markets, but there were also a huge kind of a debacle, or there was a setback in terms of P2P lending in China. Right, so there was a large P2P lending in China actually took off at a tremendous pace, and regulations came post facto, and that kind of completely disrupted the space. It kind of created a lot of again mainly because a lot of these players who had started in China were kind of utilizing P2P for multiple purposes, which was not the real intention of the platform. So we realized we had to have the right kind of best practices being followed, and basis those examples, we already started building the platform which would then conform to the actual guideline or the requirement from RBI that came in. So good thing for us, we were more or less compliant with everything that RBI required us to do. One of the major challenges that we had is, as an NBFC, we were also required to have a net owned fund. Back then it was 2 crores. So that was something that kind of forced us to do a fundraise, and that's where the second part of being a entrepreneur or a founder started, where you have to actually start fundraising. So then you make 100 pitches and you get rejected by 99. So that's another journey that we had with Rupee Circle.
So I'm glad you mentioned that. Sorry, you were saying something.
No, sorry, go on. Yeah.
So I'm glad you said that, right? So a lot of people, अगर आप news में देखोगे, you come across any of these announcements. ये startup ने इतना raise कर लिया, ये startup ने 2 million किया, this startup is valued at 100 million, has raised 10 million, whatever. So वो सब जो glory है और वो सब जो एक फेम अनाउंसमेंट है ये सब चीजों के, उसमें एक चीज कहीं पर रह जाती है कि वो फाउंडर ने वो 10 मिलियन रेज करने के लिए कितनी घिसाई है अपनी,
करेक्ट,
कहाँ कहाँ कैसे कैसे उसने घिसाई है, कितने पिचेस करे तब जाके उसका एक फंड रेज हुआ है. सो इफ यू
राइट.
कैन गिव अ बिट ऑफ योर योर 2 cents एंड योर इनसाइट की वो जर्नी कैसी रही है आपके लिए फॉर रूपी सर्कल जब आप रेस कर रहे थे, एंड इफ यू रेस ऑफ फटाक पे तो उसके लिए, एंड व्हाट वर द मेजर ऑब्स्टिकल्स दैट यू केम अक्रॉस, बी इट एक्सटर्नल के इंटरनल, खुद का ही सेल्फ कॉन्फिडेंस होता है कि यार मैं कर रहा हूँ कि सही कर रहा हूँ कि नहीं. आई मीन आई एम श्योर देयर आर मोमेंट्स एज एन एंटरप्रेन्योर वेयर यू क्वेश्चन योरसेल्फ एंड यू गॉट अप फ्रॉम दैट. सो या.
Correct. No, so obviously fundraise is one of the more or the major key founding blocks for us any entrepreneur or a startup journey. So I would say it starts with an idea. So obviously you have to have a very solid, strong idea and conviction and vision to do that or put all your energy behind that idea. I think second most important thing is building the right team. So that is the second most important thing, that you start putting the right people who share that vision, share that idea, and who are able to stand by you. And thirdly, obviously all of these things require capital eventually. So you also need to have access to the right set of investors, right capital that is required to also fund the growth of the company, but also share that vision that you have for the idea that you had started out with. So again, obviously it's a process. There are hardly any founders who would just make one or two pitches and get funding. So obviously there is a lot of pivoting, there is a lot of going back to the drawing board, there's a lot of pitches that are made, and we would also probably would have gone through at least 40 or 50 pitches before we were able to convince Mahindra Finance, one of the largest NBFCs in India, to back us and support us back in Rupee Circle. So I think pitching, also sharing that vision, making sure that the investor also shares that same vision behind what you're trying to build. That's one of the most difficult and also one of the most key things in a startup.
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल. And I think also what is even more important in fundraising is कि कब करना चाहिए fundraise and
Correct.
what should you utilize it for. That is also really important. जैसे if you look at P2P as a segment, right? So this is my observation of the segment जितना मेरा limited exposure है. I've seen is majority of P2P companies as of now are profitable. Like they can be bootstrapped and profitable और fundraising की जरूरत नहीं थी.
Correct.
But if you look back to when guidelines were issued, majority of them had to run for raising funds because of the reason that you mentioned कि वो 2 करोड़ का owned funds का net worth का requirement था.
Correct. Absolutely true. So उसमें funding obviously and fintech space, you see it even today. One of the major challenges and in funding, what we've seen in Fatak Pay also now with a lot of things happening on the regulatory side as well. So one of the major points which VCs will typically have is this is a regulated space. So RBI can come around, change things overnight, and that could clearly impact your business model. So that kind of becomes difficult and challenging to raise funds in a more of a regulated environment. You can see business models go out in quick spans of time, depending on regulation aa gaya, this is allowed and that is not allowed. So in these kind of spaces, funding becomes even more critical and difficult to come.
Understood. It definitely makes sense. Now moving forward from here, right? अभी आते हैं Fatak Pay पे, right? So when you exited or moved out of Rupee Circle and you decided कि अभी next leg of journey करते हैं, so what was it that was in your mind कि ये solve करना है मुझे? This is a problem statement that I have been observing and I have not been able to completely impact it. तो अभी मुझे ये problem statement के लिए build करना है with Fatak Pay.
Correct. So there were three major learnings or drawbacks that we had from Rupee Circle. So one of the major learning was the fact that although we had built our own models to underwrite these customers, so we had a custom algorithm to assess the credit risk, and it used more than 200 data points to understand the risk of this individual. Ultimately, since this was low ticket size, we were relying on the fact that the data was being given by the individual themselves. So we would, have to ask them what was their what was their salary, get their salary slips or bank statement. Now, the segment that we typically work with, bank statements is a major challenge. They would not have internet banking, would have to go to the bank, take 2-3 days, or either it was too difficult to verify the data that they were providing us, or too expensive. So if somebody told us they were working at XYZ corporate with a 25,000 rupee salary, it was extremely difficult to verify that information, or very expensive to verify. And given the segment we were working in, and again the models that we were building, it could also lead to garbage in, garbage out, right? So and we realized our approval rates were hardly 10%, 12% kind of approval rates, where out of 100 people applying, we were only able to give credit to 10-12 individuals. So the core idea of inclusion was not being achieved. So we were also wanting to make sure that we were inclusive in our approach, and we were able to give access to credit to wider set of individuals.
Right.
So credit underwriting and data, kind of became one of the core, problem areas that we wanted to solve for. Secondly, we realized that we were not really having a lot of engagement with the customer. So back then we were giving larger ticket size loans, and apart from collecting monthly EMIs, there was no real engagement with the customer. If the customer got 75,000 to 1 lakh rupee in his account, we did not have a lot of insight about where the funds were ultimately being utilized for. So we were still missing out on that engagement with the customer. And what we also realized is that this customer also is not that financially savvy. So end of the day, this customer also needs a lot of financial education, hand holding, etc. So engagement was one of the key drivers that led us to start Fatak Pay. And third challenge that we were facing at Rupee Circle was, obviously we were working in a more B2C format, where we were acquiring customers directly, and collections also, although we were doing it fairly efficiently, but being spread across India was kind of a bit of a challenge, right? So we wanted to build on these learnings, and that is exactly what we did with Fatak Pay. So Fatak Pay, here the idea is that we are giving even smaller ticket size loans. So this is up to 15 to 20,000 rupee kind of credit. What we've done this time around is we've created a monthly product. So instead of giving a larger ticket size loan, we have created on a monthly product. And we are also we are providing them options, multiple payment options. So their disbursement can be through UPI, their disbursement can be through bank transfers, etc. So they are able to utilize this credit in multiple scenarios. So we have more access or understanding of the transactional behavior of the customer. So our product is similar to if we assess the credit risk of an individual and provide him, let's say, with a credit line of 15,000 rupees. Now he's able to access this credit line and use this across multiple channels, right? So he's able to do scan and pay. So he can scan any UPI ID or QR code and make payments, or he's also able to do bank transfers. So here we had more engagement with the customer. We had more insight on where the money was being utilized, how the money was being utilized. Secondly, what we've done, and again, this is a monthly revolving product. End of the month, there's a statement generated, and once the outstanding is repaid, the credit line revolves. So it's kind of a monthly product. Similar, but it's more of a credit line that the person utilizes. Secondly, what we do is we've gone B2B2C. So again, we realize that a lot of corporates who employ this kind of customer base, and who are manpower heavy, and I'm talking of logistics, delivery, facility management, staffing companies, manufacturing companies, etc., have a lot of manpower who's typically working under 30,000-40,000 salary bracket. Now, one of the major issues in this segment is high attrition. So people will switch job for 500,000 rupee kind of monthly increments, and financial stability for them is the foremost criteria. So there's no real loyalty for the corporate, and in that sense, corporates have really high attrition rates. Also, a lot of these employees will ask their employer for salary advances, prepaid expenses, etc. So there's also a lot of burden on working capital of these corporates towards meeting those kind of requirements, and again, if not, face attrition, etc. So we realized, we could solve this for these corporates. We could, step in as a, financial wellness partner for their employees, and through due to that, obviously optimize the working capital of the corporate themselves, and also reduce attrition to a large extent. In return, what we do is we kind of integrate with the corporate. So the onboarding, etc. of so once we onboard a corporate, we have or we provide this or roll this out to all the employees of the corporate. And end of the day, this becomes like an employee benefit and a financial wellness platform that the employees can access. And our idea is not just to provide them with credit. We want to also help them understand their transactional behavior, their spends, and inculcate financial discipline, and be also able to cross sell, upsell, savings, investment, insurance kind of products in times to come.
Understood. So यहाँ पे if you look at the, let's say, one of the three major problems that you had when you were building the same, like building something similar at Rupee Circle, was the approval rate that you spoke of, right? Approval rate of around 10%, 15%. And the second was engagement, as you said. So when you talk about approval rate, how did you solve for that in FatakPay? When you say customer segment is a blue collar segment, right? So not a lot of people will be taken up by traditional lenders. So if you're doing the standard loan sourcing model wherein you are becoming just loan sources for NBFCs, वहाँ पे तो मतलब 5 NBFC में डालोगे, वहाँ से एक में भी approval आना, it's very difficult, right? For these kind of segment. So how do you solve for that?
Right. So, one of the major ways, and as I mentioned earlier, we were having the major challenge was to verify the data of the customer. Now, in a B2B2C format, what we've done is we've integrated with the employer. And on with the consent of the employee, and when he wants to start the journey with Fatak Pay, we kind of have an integrated onboarding journey for the customer, and we get verified data of the customer from the corporate directly. So जहाँ हमको last time or previously where we were challenged to verify the salary of the customer, verify the profile of the customer, uska employment verification was an issue. Now since this data was coming from an independent third party and a verified source, uska demographic profile, uska job profile, uska work profile, uska salary information or salary brackets, and his work history would come directly to us from the corporate. Now that kind of created a lot of better understanding of the customer. It kind of improved our underwriting models, and in that process our approval rates have become 80% compared to what we were having previously. Right. So, and isme, to a large extent, we also have an understanding of the corporate profile, etc. So that gives us a lot more comfort on the employee and the employer itself. So, यहाँ पे approval rate significantly improve हो गई. We kind of became a more inclusive product, for the end customer. And as we build more and more data and history around this customer, on his usage patterns, behavior, etc. And this is the upcoming segment, right? So this is the largest segment in India, and slowly in the next 3-5 years, this will be the major segment that is upcoming. So if we kind of understand the transactional behavior of this segment right now, we are also able to cross sell, upsell multiple other products and services in times to come.
Understood. Fair enough. So when you look at, let's say, the second problem statement that you are facing, right, from the point of view of engagement, I think you probably solve that by first of all, monthly cycle. It became a shorter term period loan, and moreover, let's say you are essentially engaging with them in the sense that you are getting the data from them because they're spending on your app, if I'm not wrong, right? They're spending using your app, using the QR.
Yeah. And so I'll just add to that. So now,
sorry, please go ahead.
Yeah. So I was saying, I missed talking about engagement. So you're absolutely right. So, one, we were getting more transactional data of this customer. So where he's spending, how he's spending, his pattern, his repayment behavior, history, etc. On top of it, what we are doing is, based on that, we are also curating a discounts and offers program for him. So similar to
Okay.
what you would have. So हम लोग क्या कर रहे हैं, जैसे कि अगर we realize 70% of our spends are our customers are geographically, let's say, in a particular city, right, and they are spending on few essentials, like for example ये grocery store पे spend हो रहा है, या ये healthcare या ये
बिल्कुल.
pharmacy पे spend हो रहा है. So what we've done is we've gone back and we've tied up with those merchants. We've already tied up with 150 plus brands, and majorly in the segment of essentials, grocery, pharmacy, healthcare, diagnostic, etc., where this customer can get 10%, 20% kind of discounts on making payments through Fatak Pay. So here, we are also providing them with a value add. So if you जो भी payments हमारे through हो रहे हैं, उसमें हम उनको 10%, 20% kind of discounts देते हैं, offers देते हैं. So in that sense, we are helping them get a major value add over and above the obviously the credit line that they have available to them. From a merchant perspective, obviously we're driving, further driving their sales. So for them, we are helping them build a customer base, and for us, we are trying to create that engagement and be that go-to partner for all their needs.
बिल्कुल, I understand. I mean, that essentially keeps them entrenched in your ecosystem. और अगर आप tailored उनको offers और वो सब दे रहे हो, so this segment, I don't think a lot of they have a lot of options to get those curated offers and those kind of loyalty programs as well. So I think that adds a lot of value. If you look at this this specific business model and this specific segment, so a lot of technological evolution has gone into essentially getting into the stage where it is right now, from evolution in underwriting to tech evolution in collections. I have come across a few companies who are doing AI-based sympathetic, collection calls, wherein those calls are done by a bot, and the bot actually understands the human emotions on the other side and basically, takes the call forward accordingly. That is one evolution. That has actually seen collection rate increases from, let's say, 10% से लेके वो drop हो गया. Basically, the deferred payments जो होते हैं, they're able to recover some of the other amount. So it's dropped down to 3 to 4%. If you look at, let's say, evolution in the underwriting, there has been a recent podcast that I did, which was essentially on gamified underwriting mechanism and all of that. So I would want to understand from you, what kind of evolutions have you seen when you have been so entrenched into the ecosystem? Or in Fatak Pay, what have you actually adopted to actually make these journeys more smoother?
So, one of the major changes that we have seen is the rise in digital transactions. So if you look at last 2-3 years, and starting with demonetization and further accelerated by COVID, the penetration of UPI and UPI based payments and digital payments has been incredible. Right. So earlier, if you thought of your grocery wala or your vada pav wala accepting digital payments, it was still far off, right? Cash was the king, etc. So and that is where even the engagement was missing. At the end of the day, person or this segment wanted money in hand, or cash in hand was kind of the rule, right? So even if they took a credit for them, or even if their salary came to the bank account, the first thing they would do is withdraw cash. Because where they are transacting, mostly cash was the only way of payment. So here, what we've seen in the last few years is the rise of digital transaction. I know NPCI has done tremendously well in terms of enforcing UPI. UPI is state of art these days, and it's a very frictionless payment mechanism. And the best thing is that even the lowest level vendor is accepting UPI payments. That has brought a lot more penetration of payments. So where previously, where you realized ki if it was a question mark कि ये लोग digital payments कर सकते हैं क्या, were they savvy enough? UPI has changed that completely. So UPI is one of the major things that we've taken or rided on, because we think that is a fantastic way to understand transactional behavior, history, etc., and build underwriting models or refine underwriting models better on. So that's one. Secondly, obviously, the onboarding journeys, the repayment, so the collection journey, so a lot of these things have become very smooth and automated. So pehle matlab doing a KYC was also took a lengthy process. You had to collect physical
Definitely.
documents, etc. Now with a lot of digital initiatives led by the government, UADI. So all of this has become very frictionless, and
True.
so these things have obviously become also with open banking and with neo banking, etc. So ये सारी चीजों की वजह से it is opening up the space and giving access to financial products to segments which were not being catered to so far. So I think those are the few key transformations that have happened in the space, and has made this also brought forward this opportunity.
No, definitely. I think talking about digitization of transactions, that has basically given a massive insight into a person's spending pattern, and UPI has actually played a very vital role in that. That enables you to underwrite them better, and digital onboarding has been another main enabler for this journey. But when you talk about evolution in specifically underwriting, right? जैसे कि the role of AI/ML in that, or you talk about the role of these kind of emerging tech in collections. Have you seen any developments in that, or have you closely looked at adopting it?
No. So underwriting definitely, as and when we were utilizing that to a large extent, even in Rupee Circle and also with Fatak Pay. So obviously we have a lot of data analytics happening behind the scenes, where there's a learning process in terms of what's performing better, what's not performing better. So underwriting, definitely there's a lot of data play that has come into so ML AI has come into play. Collections, very frankly, we've not explored that to a large extent. We're still, sticking to the SMS and WhatsApp based notifications, reminders, etc. So it's still and collections wherever, calling wherever required. So not to a large extent, but I'm sure we're watching this space closely. So the moment we see one of the major things that have happened, and which is also really good, and which has also given access to a lot of opportunity, is the fact that there's vernacular has become very mainstream. Right, so a lot of these people speak various languages, and it is very important and to build that trust to be in the vernacular language which people speak.
बिल्कुल.
So I think वो एक बहुत बड़ा factor है that has played out, and that has become very important for us, especially kind of segment we deal in. कि we are able to speak the customer's language, and we are able to address or build that trust with that particular customer. So kind of making sure that we are available to him in the language of his preference.
बिल्कुल. I think going when you go below a certain segment, जैसे अगर आप tier 2 tier 3 के नीचे जाते हो, या फिर आप एक certain income level के नीचे जाते हो, it becomes very necessary to connect with that audience in their own language. अगर आप वो नहीं करते हो, so you lose them, you lose the interest, and
Correct.
वो आपसे उस तरीके से connect ही नहीं कर पाएंगे, वो trust ही नहीं build होगा कि वो even though आप अभी ऐसा एक सिचुएशन जहाँ पे मैंने देखा है कि even when you are giving them loan, but if you are giving them loans at a lower interest rate, वो जो लेवल का बंदा है वो आपको डाउट करना चालू करेगा कि तुम मेरे से कोई फ्रॉड तो नहीं कर रहे हो, कि इतना मुझे वहां
exactly.
पे 30% पे दे रहा है, तुम मुझे 8% पे 10% पे कैसे लोन दे पा रहे हो, या 15% पे कैसे दे पा रहे हो. सो वो अगर आप उनको सही तरीके से अगर आप कनेक्ट नहीं कर पाओगे वो लैंग्वेज में, then it becomes very difficult to even do any kind of business, whether you are giving them money or whether you are asking them for repayment. तो वो चीज एक मैंने ऑब्जर्व करी है.
Absolutely there.
Yes. Yeah. Moving forward, let's say कि ये जो segment है specifically digital lending का, how do you see this evolving over next 5 years? मतलब आप क्या इसमें किस जगह पे या क्या आप evolution देख रहे हैं कि अभी यार यहाँ पे ये चीज change होगी या change होनी चाहिए जिससे कि ये segment एक exponentially तरीके से बढ़े?
Correct. So I think most of the fintechs or at least the major value add अब तक जो हो रहा है that is for probably 10 to 15% of India's population, which is very tech savvy, which is investment savvy, etc. But अब जैसे जैसे देखोगे, people are realizing the tremendous value and potential of the middle income or the lower income segment. So maybe they will not be able to invest in large asset classes, etc. But collectively, so if you look at micro insurance, micro mutual funds,
Right.
micro SIPs, micro digital gold. So
Right.
ये सारी चीजें, this is completely revolutionizing and access to financial products and services for this segment. So if there was a bridge, or if there was a moat in terms of इतना तो investment ticket size चाहिए to have to do this. So अभी आप देखोगे fractional real estate आ गया है, fractional digital gold आ गया है, you have these small micro insurances which is very relevant and pertinent for this kind of segment. So ये सारी चीजें and the advent of these kind of things is a very important game changer for this segment. And this is as I said earlier, this is the largest segment in India. This is the most upcoming segment in India. And that is where as Fatak Pay we are positioning ourselves that if we have their understanding or their financial wellness kind of relationship with this customer set, we will be able to on a marketplace model, or on by our own, be able to provide them multiple products and services, and not just help them build their credit profile, but also help them in terms of financial wellness as a complete suite. Be able to take care of their investment, savings, insurance kind of needs in times to come.
And bilkul, I think I completely agree with you. Specifically on the piece that were fractionalizing of assets and buying all of that has actually created more awareness and has basically taken financial inclusion of people into the next level when it comes to whether investing into multiple assets and getting into different variety of assets. And given that awareness, I think overall जो एक orientation होता है, एक mentality होती है, वहीं पे एक change आ रहा है to get more hands on with their finances, and that could probably lead to a bit more of a revolution, so as to say. Great. I think the last part of our segment, I think it's time for that, which is a rapid fire round.
Okay.
I'll ask you around 3 to 4 questions. You have to answer that in 10 seconds without thinking a lot. These will be short questions. ठीक है, so शुरू करते हैं. The first one is, name one moment in your entire entrepreneurship journey where you had almost given up, but you didn't and somehow found the strength to pick it up and get moving again.
When we were starting Rupee Circle.
Okay. So I'm now curious. Want to hear more about it?
Yeah, so as I said, when RBI regulations came out, when there was a complete change of the level playing field, right. There was a requirement to apply for an NBFC license. A lot of people actually folded shop. So they said, "Arey yaar, ye to, this has completely changed the landscape, and what we had set out, ye karna hai, nahi karna hai, we were in two minds." And obviously, being a regulated entity, हम लोगों ने सोचा नहीं था हम NBFC बनेंगे, ये बनेंगे. We were more of a fintech play. So there was a lot of discussion, brainstorming, etc. कि ये करना है, नहीं करना है, कैसे करना है, regulations है, ये है, वो है. Finally, we said we'll stick on. We have a very big vision. We want to make a change in this space, and regulations are good. Regulations will help you create an environment which is which gives the right kind of practices, or makes the right kind of practices available. So I think we stuck on, and I think that was a good decision. But that was a very key moment where we were struggling, and at one point we were thinking maybe we should just stop this.
Bilkul, I completely agree. यहाँ पे one thing that I would like to add is when these kind of situations come कि जहाँ पे regulations की वजह से पूरा landscape change हो जाता है. जैसा I think recently अभी और एक बार हुआ था with the PPI regulations coming in, right? A lot of shops were shut and a lot of people panicked. ऐसे टाइम पे दो चीजें काम आती है. एक तो होता है कि the resolve और the जज्बा, जैसे हम कहते हैं उसको, जो आग होती है, वो एक अगर वो है तो you will find a way to create a pivot and move forward. वो चीज main होनी चाहिए. That's all about it.
Absolutely.
Okay, great. Moving on to the next question. This is an easy one. One entrepreneur that you actually look up to, कि जो आपका role model है.
Elon Musk.
Awesome. बिल्कुल. ठीक है. One startup that you feel is revolutionizing lending.
Lending. I think Cred has done a fantastic job, but they're not clearly into lending. But they're doing a great job in terms of the model that they have and what they're building.
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल. I think Cred, I would also agree with you. Not lending point of view जैसे आपने बोला, but overall Cred is essentially revolutionizing the way entrepreneurs should think, right? You create
Exactly.
a value add first, you create an ecosystem first, and then think of monetizing it. And
Exactly.
once you start monetizing, money will start flowing in.
Correct.
Because अब starting में देखो, like still last year या year के half time तक भी a lot of people were saying यार ये कर क्या रहा है ये Kunal
ये
Shah,
कर क्या रहा है, मतलब
exactly
what are they
इतने
doing?
पैसे burn कर रहा है, unicorn बन गया लेकिन loss में चल रहा है, and then suddenly he hits the lending button, he hits a couple of more buttons, and now he's like raking in millions every day.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
So that's the context that a lot of people kind of didn't get earlier.
Correct.
Great. Moving on, I think last question. This is something जो थोड़ा सा introspective है. If you would start up, like if you were given a chance to start up one more time with a clean slate, what is something that you would probably do differently?
Sorry, this is difficult. So, I think it is very easy to say things in hindsight, but when you're in the flow of things and in the startup, there are so many things that are going on, and you never know which directions things will take, and I think that is the exciting part of the startup journey also. So you can love it or hate it, because you never have a mirror to the future saying this is what it will happen and this is what we need to do. So there are not just one things, many things. In hindsight, you think, "Arey, ye aise karna chahiye tha, ye waise karna chahiye tha." But I think that is part of the entrepreneur journey, and the good thing is that as long as you have that vision and as long as you keep working towards that resiliently, and as long as you have also the flexibility to pivot, wherever you think you've made a mistake, admit it and start pivoting towards the right direction. I think that's the true spirit that one should keep.
Got it. Finally, one last question. I promise this is the last one. What is the most? By the way, I just made that question up. It wasn't in my list, but आपने जो जवाब दिया उसपे से मुझे वो question सूझा. So, one last question है. What is one quality that an entrepreneur should possess to succeed at any cost, or to become a successful entrepreneur? Yes.
Resilience is one, and optimism is the other one. Because as an entrepreneur, you have out of 10 news that you get every day, 9 are probably bad. So and
Right.
ये नहीं चल रहा है, ये नहीं हो रहा है, this has gone wrong, this has gone bad. So you have to keep that optimism alive. You have to keep that vision in mind. You have to keep that resilience with you. To ensure that you're overcoming all those obstacles, and the 10th news that you're getting is the news that kind of makes up for everything else. So I think वो बहुत जरूरी है. Things will not happen from day one. A lot of things will keep going wrong. But I think that optimism and resilience is required. So
बिल्कुल. I completely agree with you. Couldn't have said it any better. As a part of Fintech Yatra that we used to do earlier, जहाँ पे कि करीबन 1,500 स्टार्टअप्स अभी तक हम लोग मिले रहेंगे. One common quality amongst all the successful entrepreneurs that we have seen, some of them are unicorns now, some of them have shut shop and started a new companies which are successful. जो भी journey रही है जिसकी भी, they were all optimistic to a level that at that point of time I would call it foolish. कि यार कर लेंगे, हो जाएगा, कैसे नहीं पता, बट हो जाएगा. बट दैट इज समथिंग जो उनको हेल्प करा है आज वो जहाँ पे यूनिकॉर्न बने हैं या बंद करके नई स्टार्टअप चालू करके उसमें सक्सेसफुल हुए हैं. That is something that has been really important. So very well said. With that, I think we have that's our time. Thank you so much for joining us, Abhishek. It was really a pleasure having you here. काफी इंटरेस्टिंग कॉन्वर्सेशन रहा और काफी मजा आया आपके साथ बात करने के लिए. Thank you so much.
Same here. It was a pleasure, Shreyas. Nice speaking to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.